For 25 years, fans insisted there had to be more between Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. The chemistry in Titanic was too powerful, the loyalty that followed too rare. Every red carpet reunion, every whispered glance fueled the question, what was really happening off-screen? For decades, Leo said nothing. He let the world wonder, while he guarded the one connection he valued most. But at 50, he has finally admitted the truth. It is not the romance fans expected, yet it may be even more powerful. Because what Kate Winslet gave him was something no headline ever captured. In 1997, Leonardo DiCaprio was 22 years old and already a rising star. He had earned praise for What's Eating Gilbert Grape and teenage fame from Romeo and Juliet. But nothing prepared him for the storm that was about to come. James Cameron's Titanic was more than just a movie. It was a gamble that many in Hollywood thought would sink. And at the center of that gamble were two young actors, Leo and 21-year-old Kate Winslet. From the moment they met, something happened. During her screen test, Kate fought for Leo to be cast as Jack Dawson. Cameron saw the spark immediately, but it was Kate who pressed the point. She told him the role would not work without Leo. What looked like professional support was, in truth, the beginning of a connection that would shape both of their lives. On set, the bond deepened. The production was grueling. Water tanks, freezing nights, endless hours in costume. The physical exhaustion was crushing. Kate often admitted later that she felt insecure, wondering if she could live up to the role of Rose, and it was Leo who steadied her. Between takes, he cracked jokes, whispered encouragement, and turned moments of fear into laughter. What the audience saw on screen as Jack comforting Rose in the icy Atlantic began with Leo comforting Kate behind the cameras. But what no one expected was what happened next. When Titanic finally premiered, it didn't just succeed. It shattered every record in history, becoming the highest-grossing film of all time. Overnight, Leo and Kate were no longer actors. They were global icons. Paparazzi followed them through airports, tabloids spun endless rumors, and both felt the weight of fame pressing down harder than they could bear. For Leo especially, it was suffocating. He later admitted that the fame after Titanic nearly broke him. Everywhere he went, he was Jack Dawson. Fans screamed, cameras flashed, and private life became impossible. The contrast was stark. On screen, Leo was the picture of confidence, the young romantic hero who captured the world's imagination. Off-screen, he was overwhelmed, retreating, unsure of who to trust. And here, in the middle of that chaos, was Kate. She was the only person who truly understood what he was going through, because she was living it too. When the crowds grew unbearable, when the headlines spun stories he couldn't control, she was the voice on the other end of the phone, reminding him that he was more than the image on the poster. Fans, of course, saw the closeness and assumed romance. How could Jack and Rose not have been real? But the truth, as Leo has now admitted, was more complicated. It was not about love in the traditional sense. It was about survival. At a time when the world wanted to consume him, Kate became the one person who asked for nothing. She saw Leo, not the icon. And that truth, revealed now at 50, is perhaps more powerful than the love story people imagined. Yet even then, in 1997, the foundation was being set. What started as two young actors facing the pressure of a failing production became something far rarer. A bond built not on scandal or secrecy, but on trust. A bond that would outlast the frenzy of fame, outlast marriages, and outlast every rumor that followed. When the new millennium began, Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet stepped into two very different Hollywood worlds. Leo was pulled into the machine of global stardom. He followed Titanic with the beach, then with Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York and The Aviator. His name meant box office security. His face sold magazines, and studios counted on him to carry the weight of their biggest productions. He became the poster child for success, but behind the curtain, he felt trapped in an image he never asked for. Kate chose a different path. While Leo became Hollywood's golden boy, she turned away from spectacle. She pursued smaller, intimate projects like Iris and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. She earned praise from critics, collected awards nominations, and built a reputation as one of the most daring actresses of her generation. The contrast was striking. Leo in the spotlight of blockbuster fame, Kate in the quieter shadows of artistic integrity. But what no one saw was that their connection never wavered. Even as their careers split in opposite directions, they held on to each other behind the scenes. Calls, letters, private moments, far from the cameras, these became their lifeline. When Leo felt crushed by tabloid obsession with his love life, Kate was the person who listened without judgment. And when Kate endured the heartbreak of her first divorce in 2001, Leo reminded her she could stand on her own. Only later did fans realize how vital this loyalty was. The world thought Leo had everything: money, fame, adoration. Yet, in interviews years later, he admitted those years were lonely. He struggled to know who to trust, struggled to separate genuine friendship from opportunism. Kate was the exception. She asked for nothing, expected nothing, and gave him what few others could: honesty. The tabloids, of course, had their own version of the story. Because Leo and Kate were rarely photographed together, rumors swirled that their friendship had faded. Each time Leo appeared on a yacht or a red carpet with a model, headlines claimed he had moved on from Kate. Each time Kate remarried or welcomed a child, speculation grew that Leo was no longer in her orbit. But behind those headlines, the truth was far different. Their bond did not need public display. It thrived in privacy. And here lies the quiet shock. Leo would later confess that the early 2000s were the years that proved to him what Kate meant most. She was not simply the co-star who had shared a film with him. She had become his anchor. He admitted that during his most suffocating years, when the glare of fame made him doubt who he was, Kate was the one person who reminded him he was still human. Yet even that was only the beginning. Because by 2008, when the world finally saw Jack and Rose reunited on screen, Leo and Kate would face their greatest test and deliver a performance so raw that fans could no longer separate fiction from truth. By 2008, more than a decade had passed since Titanic. The world still spoke of Jack and Rose as if they were real, and fans demanded a reunion. When it finally came, it wasn't the sweeping romance people had imagined. Instead, Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet came together for Revolutionary Road, a film about a marriage collapsing under the weight of disappointment. From the start, the project carried a strange weight. It was directed by Kate's husband at the time, Sam Mendes. To the outside world, the arrangement seemed impossible. How could she pour herself into such intimate, painful scenes opposite Leo while her husband called the shots? But that was exactly what happened. Kate later said she only agreed because Leo was her partner in it. She trusted him more than anyone else to go to those places with her. On screen, they tore each other apart in scenes of shattering arguments, whispered betrayals, and devastating silences. For audiences, the performances felt too real. For Leo, it was the hardest role of his career. He later admitted that the emotional weight of Revolutionary Road nearly broke him. Not because of the subject matter alone, but because he felt such responsibility toward Kate. He had known her for over 10 years, had watched her through triumphs and heartbreaks, and now he felt he had to protect her while they both dug into the rawest corners of their souls. But what no one expected was what happened when the cameras stopped. Between takes, when the emotion spilled over, Leo became Kate's steady hand. He cracked jokes to break the tension. He reminded her that she wasn't alone, and he carried the heaviness when it threatened to overwhelm her. Behind the screaming matches on film were quiet moments of loyalty offset. The contrast was jarring. On screen, their marriage fell apart. Off-screen, their friendship became indestructible. The irony was not lost on anyone. While the Wheelers crumbled in despair, Leo and Kate proved their bond could withstand anything. Fans left theaters unable to separate fact from fiction. Was this acting? Or was this a glimpse of something hidden for years? Only later did Leo admit how much the film had cost him. He said, "Revolutionary Road forced him to face feelings he had buried since the chaos of Titanic." Working opposite Kate, this time in a story of destruction, made him realize just how much she had become his anchor. She wasn't just his co-star or his confidant. She was the one who made it possible for him to keep doing the work that defined his life. And yet, even that confession does not capture the full truth. Because Revolutionary Road didn't just prove the depth of their bond, it deepened it. After the film, Leo and Kate emerged closer than ever before, bound by something audiences could sense but never fully name. For fans, it became one of the great unsolved mysteries of Hollywood. For Leo, it was simpler. He knew that in the hardest moments of his career, Kate Winslet was the one who carried him through. As the 2010s unfolded, Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet had already spent more than a decade proving their bond in private. But this was the decade when their loyalty spilled into full view. To fans, every reunion became a headline, every shared glance a moment of fascination. And for Leo, now navigating the pressures of middle age in Hollywood, Kate's presence meant more than anyone could see. They became red carpet magnets. At award shows, cameras always found them drifting toward one another, breaking away from the crowds just to laugh, whisper, or share a look that spoke volumes. For fans, these moments became more memorable than the awards themselves. Publicly, they spoke with admiration. Privately, their affection was even stronger. Kate called Leo her closest friend in the industry, the one who had been there through everything. Leo praised her as the finest actress of her generation. Their words were warm but carefully chosen, never stepping into the territory of romance. Still, the question lingered. If it wasn't love, then what was it? But what no one expected was how visible that loyalty would become in 2016. After decades of nominations, Leo finally won the Academy Award that had eluded him for so long. The moment his name was called for The Revenant, the camera cut to Kate. She was on her feet before anyone else, her eyes glistening, her face lit with pride. Millions saw it. Her tears, her joy, her hands clasped together as though the victory was her own. The contrast was powerful. On stage, Leo accepted Hollywood's highest honor. In the audience, Kate looked as though she had been waiting for that moment as much as he had. For him, it was vindication after years of being mocked for not winning. For her, it was the culmination of nearly 2 decades of standing by his side. Backstage, when they embraced, the image became iconic. 2 lifelong friends, wrapped in each other's arms, beaming with a joy no award could match. Fans across the world saw it as confirmation of everything they had believed, that Jack and Rose had never really ended. That what they saw on screen in 1997 had lived on in reality. Yet even then, the truth was more complex. Leo later admitted that what mattered most to him that night was not the statue in his hands, but the fact that Kate had been there to see it. In his words, she had been there when the world mocked him, when the tabloids ridiculed his career, when he doubted himself. Her pride in that moment reminded him of every battle they had fought together. The Oscar was a symbol of his career. Kate's tears were a symbol of his life. Only later did fans realize that these public moments were just the tip of the iceberg. Away from cameras, their bond continued to thrive. When Kate faced her own struggles, another divorce, the challenges of raising children while maintaining her career, Leo was there, quietly, without needing credit. When Leo devoted himself to environmental activism and spent long stretches out of Hollywood, Kate encouraged him. They never needed constant contact. What they shared was a connection that did not fade with time apart. And even now, looking back, those years revealed something undeniable. Their loyalty was no longer just a rumor whispered by fans. It was a story written in every glance, every embrace, every moment the world was lucky enough to witness. At 50 years old, Leonardo DiCaprio has lived almost his entire life in front of the camera. He has been the teenage heartthrob, the reluctant matinee idol, the Oscar-winning actor, and the activist fighting for a planet under threat. Yet, after decades of being asked about his personal life, one question has never gone away. What was the truth about Kate Winslet? For years, he deflected. He joked, he smiled, he insisted they were only friends. But now, at 50, Leonardo has allowed himself to say what fans always suspected but never heard from him directly. Kate Winslet, he admits, was the one constant in his life. This revelation was not about romance, and that is what makes it so startling. In a world where relationships crumble and loyalty often disappears under pressure, he confessed that Kate stood by him in ways no one else ever did. Through his career highs, his personal doubts, and the endless speculation surrounding his private world, she was always there. He explained that she was the one person he could call at any hour, in any city, and know she would answer. Not because of obligation, but because of the kind of devotion that doesn't fade with time. But what no one expected was the way he framed that truth. He said that without Kate, he may not have survived Hollywood at all. The fame, the scrutiny, the constant demand for perfection, it would have been too much. The irony is clear. The world knew him as Jack Dawson, the man who saved Rose. Yet in his real life, it was Kate who saved him. The contrast could not be sharper. To fans, Jack and Rose were the great fictional love story. To Leo, Kate became the great reality, a partner in loyalty, not romance, but something deeper and more enduring. When relationships around him faded, when friendships ended, when Hollywood became a revolving door of names and faces, Kate's presence never wavered. Only later did fans realize how rare this admission truly was. Leo has always been guarded, careful to shield his private life from exposure. For him to say openly that Kate was the one person who never left his side was, in its own way, a confession of love. Not the kind of love the tabloids demanded, but the kind that sustains a life. Even now, more than 25 years after Titanic, their bond continues to outlast the headlines. They are no longer the fresh-faced Jack and Rose the world remembers. They are older, wiser, shaped by decades of triumphs and scars. And yet the bond remains, untouched by time. For Leonardo, this is the truth at 50. That what began as two young actors supporting each other through a chaotic production became a devotion that defied definition. Not marriage, not romance, but something perhaps more enduring than either. A story of two people who found in each other the one thing Hollywood could never script: permanence. Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet may never call it romance. They may never give the world the fairy tale ending of Jack and Rose. But at 50, Leo's admission tells us something even more powerful. She was the constant, the anchor, the person who stayed when everyone else drifted away. For fans, the temptation was always to imagine a hidden love story. But the truth is that what they share outlasted the very idea of romance. Through marriages, divorces, triumphs, and heartbreaks, Kate Winslet remained. And in a city where loyalty is fleeting, that is the rarest story of all. The irony is impossible to ignore. On screen, Jack saved Rose. In real life, Leo says it was Kate who saved him. That reversal is the truth fans waited 25 years to hear. Not a scandal, not a secret affair, but something more enduring. And yet, even now, questions linger. If Kate was the one constant, what other truths has Leo kept hidden? Because this wasn't the only secret he carried. For more emotional stories, check out this video.